Good morning, everybody, and welcome to At World's Edge, the fantasy lore podcast. Today we are going to be... Ooh, that's a weird effect there. Let me grab that. There we go. That's a lot better. All right. Thank you for joining me today on At World's Edge, the fantasy lore podcast. Today we're going to be continuing the series we started yesterday, Live Lore, which I will play Warhammer Total War Warhammer III, with the objective of playing it on a difficulty that will allow me to narrate the story as if we were following the lore lines. It's not difficult to understand that as a video game. Sometimes we don't get the actual lore setting or how characters would potentially behave in a given situation. But that was what we're going to be trying to do today, and for the next 2 hours, that will be our objective. So thank you again for joining me, and let's get into it. Today we're going to be, as the name implies, playing as the Elector Count of the Reikland, the Emperor Karl Franz, as he attempts to unite the Empire under his banner. Now, at this time, at starting, he's already the Emperor, but Reikland is his home province. The Empire, as we understand it, is a bit like the Holy Roman Empire of our timeline. And for those of you who aren't familiar, the Holy Roman Empire was a loose confederation of polities, so tiny states, making up much of what is now Germany, parts of France, Switzerland, Austria, and I believe parts of Eastern Europe, but you'd have to double check me on that one. Oh, I have a map of it right here, actually. Okay, so yes, and also down into Italy as well, and technically up into what's Denmark now. So the empire is very disorganized, and at various points in its history, such as the times during the Old World, which is the current setting for Warhammer Fantasy, it's entirely disunified. It's more like a bunch of independent states. This isn't like the Karaz Angkor that we discussed yesterday, where, while it's not technically a unified state, the individual kingdoms that make it up are bound to each other. The Empire is much more disunified. There's no overwhelming power or tradition of power coming from one place. Even though Sigmar was born in what is now the Reikland, in what is now Altdorf, he did not. His tradition of rulership was not hereditary, and so his descendants did not continue to rule in his name, even though he did in fact have descendants, which we'll talk about when we get to the Volkmar the Grimstream eventually. So what the Emperor has to do at all times is balance the needs of these individual polities, these individual states, and the characters who rule them, because they virtually rule as absolute monarchs within their states, to get them to unite in the face of threats that are too great for one particular province to withstand. The Reikland, for its part, and we'll go over it a little bit since we're on the loading screen here. The Reikland, for its part, is the most prosperous of the provinces in the current setting, though that's not to say it always was. The Westerland, formerly known as the Wasteland, used to include Marienburg, which is the greatest port that humans own, second only potentially to Bordeaux in Bretonnia. And in the past, alternatively, the province of Averland was considered very prosperous due to its trading with Talia and the Talian states down south of the empire. And then you've also got the province of Weisenland, which contains Nuln, and that's easily the second city of the empire. But we'll be going over the cities as we attack them. In 2 hours, we really should be pretty close to unifying the empire during this time period. Oh, thank you very much, Ice Raven. I very much appreciate that. I can honestly say that I have been a Warhammer nerd for since the 20th century, which is a fun sentence to be able to say. And I've really loved how the lore has continued to advance itself. I was very glad that they linked the Age of Sigmar timeline to the Old World timeline. because there was a little bit there for the first year and a half that they had the setting open, that it was almost like they were just ignoring it and they were treating it like two separate universes, when in fact the End Times had really given the impression that it was a direct continuation. But that's all been then canonized now, and we're all good here as far as discussing the lore as one contiguous stream of events, from the Old Ones arriving in Malice all the way up into the current battles in the Skaven invasions of the Mortal Realms. Since it's taking forever to load, the picture on the screen is of Balthazar Gelt, the Supreme Patriarch of the Orders of Magic, the Colleges of Magic, and the head of the Gold Order specifically, on top of his Pegasus. Balthazar Gelt is another lord choice you can take for your Imperial armies, representing, especially since the DLC earlier this year, representing a much more magically focused set of priorities. Similar to how we played yesterday with Thoric Ironbrow. He's not really interested in empire building, though he certainly shows up when the Empire needs his assistance. I got a message yesterday asking what I drink on the programs. I drink C4 energy drinks, but since I don't have sponsors or anything like that, I don't feel the need to show their brand to you. Total War was it was reversed for me because I still am big into the physical hobby. But for me, it's every time I turn on Total War, I get so excited because it's all the models that I didn't possess the creativity to create myself, or the money to buy, or just didn't want to put in my armies. So it's always such a treat when I get to see them realized in brilliant color, like the folks at Creative Assembly have done. Okay, so according to the game, the Emperor Karl Franz must protect the Empire at all costs by expanding its authority and bringing the elite entire nation under his banner, either by pandering to the elector counts, so diplomacy, or through military might. To help defeat both the foreign and domestic enemies of the Empire, Karl Franz may use electoral machinations to perform special powers with his own faction and other elector states while manipulating diplomatic relationships. Once the Empire is united and its enemies are crushed, campaign victory will be achieved. So that's actually fairly true. The other, so while we've had warrior emperors, such as Sigmar himself, the Emperor Karl Franz is also known by the epithet of the greatest statesman, which speaks to his diplomatic abilities. But that's not to say he's a pushover. In fact, he's had many, many military victories under his command. And this fracturing of the Reikland is an example of where he would show up and beat them in person. So fun fact, depending on the exact year that this is taking place, that he's modeled with the Gal Maraz, the Hammer of Sigmar. That may not actually be the Hammer of Sigmar. We found out through the Warhammer role-play game that the hammer that all the emperors since Sigmar up until the End Times with Karl Franz wielded was actually a facsimile, and that one was lost in the events that caused Sigmar to disappear from the world back 2,500 years ago. Okay, so I'm dealing with a civil war right here. Just a little one, not a big one. My capital is, of course, Altdorf. It is the first city of the Empire, and it's the ancestral homeland of Sigmar himself. Let's go ahead and build our city up here, because it does need to... The Empire is definitely built around its cities. Get some cattles. The Reikland is this province. So from the edge of the mountains down in the south here, and then through this river, the River Reik, nice enough, and then bordering on Weisenland, Talabecland, and Middenland, as well as the Free State of Marienburg. That is what the Reikland composes of. It's not evident in this game, but the Reikland is by far the most, the wealthiest of the realms of the Empire right now. And its primary export are both its large numbers of men for its army. We have folks in some of the background material complaining that the Empire's armies are 80% more men from the Reikland, which gives the impression that their population is simply much greater than everyone else. Because I'm going to be fighting a lot in the beginning, I do want to focus on building up my state troops. State troops are going to be your bread and butter, and Karl Franz is known for his effective use of state troops. Let's do that. Let's see what my diplomatic situation is like. I am going to be running a very diplomacy-heavy game, and that is because I believe that is the most reasonable way that Karl Franz would actually play. While he certainly would be capable of raising an army and crushing the Empire into submission, that's not what he's known for. Karl Franz has a very expansive court, he has a very expansive bureaucracy, and he is known for he has a reputation for fairness in dealing with his subjects, which would be at odds with kind of a heavy-handedness there. I know that I need to have multiple armies, so I'm actually going to focus on on recruitment and upkeep for my build. And I have a fortress over here of Helmgart, which needs to grow. These fortresses, they're not unlocked yet, but the fortress here, and then there's a fortress here, these all watch the passes on the border with Bretonnia, which is the next great human kingdom, and at various points in history has actually surpassed the Empire, mainly because of its much more unified state. Grunberg, Ubersreich, and Eilhart, as we're all seeing here, are towns in their own right. And they feature in the Warhammer roleplay setting, they feature in some of the army books, and of course they feature in mapped play. It's great to be able to see these, it's not just like Risk, where it's just a big block and you're going from place to place. These places they all have their own cultures and their own people, and while they're all part of the Reikland, as we're seeing in this Civil War, they were able to be broken away and convinced that they have a better chance of survival outside of the Empire. Though, of course, there's always the possibility that that's just chaos running amok. Alright, the Colleges of Magic rarely agree. Okay, so this highlights a factor of the Imperial way of life, which is that the Empire is made up not only of peoples and political units, but also of institutions. The Colleges of Magic are independent of the power structure in the Empire, much like the Church of Sigmar is. So, when the colleges endorse him and send him a battle wizard, that's actually a great endorsement of his authority there, but they certainly would not have been required to. He could have requested one, but the Colleges of Magic do stand apart. They are based in Altdorf, and there's actually a building chain for us to construct that, if I can hit the right button. Yay! The Colleges of Magic are where human wizards in the Empire are taught. Besides that, there are actually something called hedge witches, and hedge wizards and hedge witches who learn magic themselves in the outskirts, and also the priesthoods, not just the priesthood of Sigmar, but also the priesthoods of Tal and Mor and the other gods that the Imperials worship. And these folks can usually wield a bit of magic as well, though it's possible that in their particular case they may not describe it as such. So it's making my way over. I need to crush this Civil War. The other thing that can happen in this game, which would not happen in the setting, but it definitely happens because the PC is smarter than the actual Burgermeister of Marienburg, is that Marienburg will sometimes try to come in from the... You can't see that because more my face is. But in the in the top left-hand corner of the screen is the town of Eilhart, which we'll pan over to in a moment. And if Marienburg captures that, then I'd have to declare war on Marienburg to get it back, and I really don't want to do that. You may be wondering why Marienburg is not part of the Empire, and that's because they bought themselves out of it, taking advantage of a corrupt empire in the past. That's fine with me. The Burgermeister of Marienburg 3 centuries before, actually no, 3 centuries. Yeah, I believe 3 centuries in the past, actually just bribed the emperor to let the most important city in the empire go. That was the Emperor Boris Goldgather, actually an emperor from the city of Nuln, rather than Altdorf, which is where we are from. And it's considered one of the greatest betrayals in the Imperial's political history. Rightly so, because it did weaken the empire considerably. Marienburg before that had been part of the province of Nordland, and the elector count there constantly seeks to recover that land, even though he unfortunately is on the pain of death for not coming back to not visiting that city. I'm going to build up my magic. I got a lore of a gray wizard, so while this is loading, the colleges of magic within the Empire are divided into 8, representing each of the various disciplines of magic. So you've got your bright wizards or fire wizards. As an aside, those of you who play Age of Sigmar will be familiar with these divisions. They do represent the same 8 winds of magic. It was actually these 8 winds coalescing into the physical being of Malice itself, that when the world broke apart and splintered, these magic-infused pieces became the basis of the mortal realms that we have in that setting. But we have fire wizards, metal wizards or gold wizards, shadow wizards or gray wizards, which is who I've been sent from the colleges, death wizards, 2, 3, 4 death wizards, light wizards, and life wizards. I'm at 7 now. I am sure that this is one of those things where it's like just sitting there in my head, not coming out properly. But as soon as I find that, I'll be happy to let you know what it is. But those 8 winds of magic are represented by their own... Oh, lore of beasts. Everyone forgets the lore of beasts. Though, in fact, the last patriarch of the colleges of magic during the end times was an amber wizard or lore of beasts practitioner. Okay, so we have defeated the Empire Secessionists, and the Confederacy, Empire Secessionists have been crushed. So yay, Reikland is unified. So that was just the first step in our unifying of the Empire. So this is Reikland, which we've now unified. It's pretty small. It's a pretty large territory with 4 areas, and we also have a fort. But the Empire is this. It's all of these lands, from Ostland in the north to Solland in the south. Our goal is going to be to unite all of these territories, some of whom have been lost to the Empire for some time. We see northern Sylvania down here is currently owned by the vampire... not northern Sylvania. Sylvania is owned by the vampire counts. They're hemmed in by Stirland, but Ostermark, it seems, has been entirely overwhelmed by the forces of Dryka from the Wood Elves. We've got orcs invading Solland. Solland in the setting has been ruined for centuries, since an invasion of Gorbad Ironclaw some centuries ago, and it has essentially been a defunct state. Weisenland is secure. Looks like they have a border with the Wood Elves, who we tend to be on pretty good terms with because the Wood Elves don't have any desire to take our land. That isn't always reflected in the game setting, but it is in the regular setting. And then the north here is very much beset. It looks like Marienburg has been expanding up into Nordland territory. Looks like we've got greenskin problems. The Wood Elves of Lorelorn are not a threat. They are wood elves that live inside of the Empire, and in theory, the Elector Count there claims them as citizens, but they largely ignore him. And then, of course, our northern border is protected by Kislev, but if Kislev is ever to fall, then it would fall on the relatively poor provinces of Ostland and Ostermark to defend us, and that, in neither the game terms nor story setting, does that work out very well. So we're going to start on our quest to unify the Empire, and that means getting folks on our side, building alliances, and in general, helping them out. Okay. So what do I have here? I have some Imperial authority. No. What is going on in the Empire? So send aid is actually extremely useful, especially if I see that a province is falling, which I see in the case of Ostermark. So I think that is what I'm going to do right now. There you go. So I've sent them an additional army, which is really good because, one, it increases their fealty or their loyalty to me, but it also allows me to help them out without having to help them out. I don't really want to send troops all the way over there. I can't really afford to. I'm doing other things right now. Yeah, I'm doing other things. Can't really afford to help you out now. Sorry, bro. Let's do some knights. And then let's continue building our land up. Okay. We also need to get our logistical supply chain up. The Empire differs from other groups in the Warhammer setting in that they do very much focus on the realities of war in a way that some of the other more fantastical groups, like there's magical priests and there's battle weight mages and and things like that in the Empire. But as a rule, both in the story setting and in gameplay, you're not going to be held. Your army will not succeed on the backs of, monsters and mages. It's going to succeed based on your state troops and your logistics. So the supply chain that they focus on in here, and these state troops, just ordinary humans doing their human thing, those are really the backbone of the Empire in the story setting, and they do a good job of capturing that in this as well. Oh, thank you very much, Maury. I really enjoyed my last playthrough. I generally play on a harder setting, but on the harder setting, sometimes the game gets away from you, and I really wanted to just focus on the lore on this one. But Karl Franz is such an iconic part of the Warhammer experience. It remains to be seen how it's going to show out in Old World, because they have a different. It's actually a period where the Empire is divided into 3 equal Imperial contingencies. Okay. So this is the kind of diplomacy situations that you have to worry about. I believe Stirland is going to spend most of its time facing the vampire counts, so I'm going to put it over there. But I can't ignore Averland. Averland is an important part of the Empire. It is going to face the ogres in this setting who are coming up from the Blackfire Pass, as well as these orcs over here. So I do have to worry about everyone's individual situation. But with that in mind, Stirland is literally the bulwark against the Sylvanians, who are resurgent right now, so I do need to worry about making sure that they stay strong. Alright, so what is Karl Franz going to do? He's going to spend another turn healing and raising troops. Let's build that. Actually, you... yeah, we're going to have to go fight the Beastmen. That's what we're going to have to do. So let's go here. Oh, damn it. I made him march, which means he is not going to be able to... Damn it. Yeah, that was my bad. My bad. Let's build some walls. Now let's see what's going on in the rest of the Empire here today. Nothing. Nothing's going on. Okay. Yeah. All right. Now, the Empire's economy can be redonkulously strong, especially as you add provinces to you. So you'll notice that there's Khazrak. So Khazrak is about to entirely wipe out Middenheim. Middenheim is your strongest northern defender. It has a lot of provinces, and it's made up of a fiercely independent group. Yeah, there we go. Fiercely independent group of people known as the Middenlanders. It's important to have a strong... Can't do that. A strong northern border, because as an Imperial player, you're going to be pulled in so many different directions, unless you are going for just crushing the Empire. So what I'm going to hope for now is I'm going to hope they're going to come directly for me, because I don't have the strength to face both those armies in the field. Alright, and then after this, we're going to go up and start rebuilding the Empire up north. So we just spent a lot of Imperial authority to immediately recruit everybody there. Let's see what we've got here. Khazrak. Let's see if we can do this. I might regret this immediately. Okay. Nope, I don't regret that. And let's see if I can swing over here and kill this guy too. And I can. That was as good as I could hope for. So instead of conquering that territory for myself, the Reikland is actually strong enough to support two banners all on its own. What I would much rather see happen is a strong empire be reborn. And for that reason, I need to get Middenheim back on its feet. So I gave Karaberg back to Middenheim. This will make me stronger. You notice I already recaptured all of the prestige that I had lost. And let's have a lot of knights. What are those guys? I need swordsmen. And we'll do some more of that. And then let's build up the empire a bit more. I think we're in pretty good shape. What are you at? You're at 82%. No, not yet. I'm going to wait till they recapture everything, and then I'll help them with their corruption. So this is like what I was talking about with what our goals are versus like we're not empire building. It's funny because we are empire building, but we're empire building in a very specific way. We are uplifting the other polities within the empire, rather than just going out and conquering and trying to be a badass. We are trying to build up everyone else around us, and that's very much how Karl Franz operates. He is a warrior, but he is not a warrior king. Have a good day, Ice Raven. I agree, Maury, as far as the DLC. It is a huge missing point that we don't have the proper Wolfen kind of background for them. But I think that I was given a lot of hope from firstly, the end times focus of the next DLC, and Middenheim played a major, major role in the end times. And then also, the way that they added a new knightly order for Weissenland and Nuln, which is great because, one, I really like how characterful the Knights of Moor are, but it showed that they are willing to do this, which is something that I was not entirely positive that Games Workshop would let them do, to be entirely frank. Alright. So we have to go forth, and we have to conquer this to return to Middenheim. We absolutely cannot allow Nurgle, coming from the Brass Keep, to invade the rest of the Empire. And the Brass Keep, I did actually an entire video on the Brass Keep, which you can find in my library, but the Brass Keep is a Chaos Fortress. It's actually existed there since the time of Sigmar, and it has always been evil. It's thought that the whole of the Middle Mountains may actually have a dormant Chaos Gate under it that the dwarves closed, specifically Grimnir, the ancestor god of the dwarves, closed. And that chaos seeps out of the center of the Empire. As you can see, it's right up here in the... Well, the center is a bit strong, but it is in the center of humandom, which is Bretonnia, Kislev, and the Empire. So it does act as a sort of loci for chaos and corruption. It does contain a horde of plague knights who live there, and who were actually picked up by Archaon on his way down south. But they will, and it looks like they've started to expand. They've captured Hergig and Krudenwald. Both are some smaller towns in that area, but they're a good stepping stone for them to attack Talabheim, which is a majorly important city and the center of... What are you doing? Stop it. Don't go there. Which is a majorly important center of the Empire, and also the head area for the priesthood of Tal, which is the imperial god of life and growth. So our goal right now is going to be to free Middenheim from its chaos encampment. And in doing so, we'll be able to restore Middenheim as a bulwark in the north. We'll also try and get rid of those greenskins who are inhabiting the forest next to Lorelorn, and maybe open up trade with the Wood Elves there, which would give us an additional, both an additional ally as well as another economic source. It looks like Talabheim is having a problem. Darn. Okay, we lost Paravan and Ostermark. Not good at all. That guy's not a problem for me. Let's take him out. There we go. As I said, the Emperor is not a pushover when it comes to fighting his enemies, but nor is he a very warlike guy. He's not going around picking fights with other nations. All right, looking at our borders, we are still secure in the south. We are secure in the north, the east, and we're secure in the west. The north is really where we have problems, so that's where we're focusing our energy now. So I will go ahead and continue my expansion. I'm going to hire a Huntsman General who's going to protect the Empire in my stead. The person in charge of protecting the Empire in the absence of the Empire is the Reichsmarschall. That's actually Kurt Helborg in this timeline. He is the Reichsmarschall of the Empire, and he's not a character that's playable in the game, but he is he's a fan favorite. Actually, when he was ported over to Age of Sigmar in the first edition, he had a famously large mustache on his model, and there was a special rule that if your mustache was greater than your opponent's, he got additional rules. So that was back when Age of Sigmar was still feeling its wackiness. Yeah, if I'm playing strategically, yes, sniping Marienburg early is definitely the way to go, because then you get that money flowing in. But truthfully, I've never had much of a problem with the economy of Reikland, unless I get invaded, and then there are problems. But they seem to be pretty good as far as that goes. Where are you? Yes. I'm going to commend the Emperor, which I think is him kind of commending himself, but we've had human emperors do that in our world, so why not? And then next turn, assuming nothing crazy happens, there shouldn't be any real armies left of the orcs and goblins or the beastmen, which is kind of how it goes in the Warhammer setting. A strong leader will come through and wipe out a huge horde of enemies that unify along a strong personality, and then they're quiet for a couple generations. We saw this with Gotrek Starbreaker of the dwarves, who broke the power of the greenskins for 500 years. We saw this with Sigmar, who broke the power of the greenskins for 1,000 years. And then we've seen, actually, Karl Franz repeats this feat at the third battle of Blackfire Pass during his reign. And in that battle, he is actually empowered with Sigmar's direct influence, which is kind of cool. Okay. Talabakland is super loyal and super strong right now, so I don't really need to worry about that. I'm going to keep needling being with Stirland. I'm not sure why I keep having to intervene and give needling back to Stirland. I would love to see Kurt Helborg as a recruitable hero. I just don't have much faith in it because he didn't really play a major role in the end time setting. He protected Altdorf, and even he said in his chapter there that he was bored to tears of the kind of things he's had to do. All right, so I am not gonna spend a lot of time picking up these little territories, but the Elector Count certainly does. So I'm gonna give him a second army, and then I'm gonna go take out the Black Pit. Why am I getting damage? I shouldn't have done that. Okay. Cool. So I have now the cheapest army that I can reasonably make for myself. Any heroes? No heroes yet. Let's see how my diplomatic situation is. Yay. I'm making connections with the Lords of the Far East. The Empire does not have official relations with the Dragon Emperors of Cathay in the setting. They're known to the Empire because of the adventures of various travelers who have gone back and forth, as well as the tales from the ogres and dwarves who have made that journey as well. But it's not a polity that the Empire has any sort of real connection with, which is kind of okay, because it's not like they're too far away. Teleportation is not something that exists in a very strong way in the Warhammer universe. The only couple of times that we've seen it, it's been big moments, and big magic was involved. But which would mean that the Empire and Cathay are literally on the opposite sides of the globe. Let's see what happened. What was found? Oh, snap. They found the Galmaraz. So I'm not sure what it's going to say in the actual battle here, but that is where the Galmaraz is picked up again by adventurers in the Warhammer roleplay setting. Why are you invading this way? Please don't. I have so many things I need to do that do not involve you. Okay. So we're going this way. He is very weak, but not as weak as I am right now. Darn it. Are you at war? Not at war yet. Okay. My quest to rebuild the Empire's strength is hitting some snags. we need to start worrying about his defenses right now. So these fortresses are actually, the fortress maps themselves, much like in the setting, are actually really good at holding the line. I'm not too worried about that. But I do need to make sure that I have some forces to actually go and do that with. Okay. Okay, it looks like we're having some trouble here. This elector count map tells me who's in charge of actually running the Empire, which is a major thing that I'm worried about as I'm trying to rebuild it. It looks like the Emil von Corden, who is the lore-correct Burgomeister of Marienburg, and it correctly notes it is not under the control of the Empire. Theodric Gausser is still in charge of Nordland. He is a particularly cantankerous man. It looks like Festus the Leech Lord is currently in charge of Hochland, and also Ostland. Good job, Festus. Helmut Fairbach is in charge of Telebachland. Opt Hartmann, that's good. That's good. Solland, as I said, was already collapsed. It looks like the Elspeth von Draken, who is the chief mage from the Death Order, is in charge there, which is good. Leitdorf is good. And Vlad von Karstein, you know, I'm mixed on that. I really wish that I could diplomatically annex Vlad von Karstein or give him the option to be in the Empire, because ultimately that was his goal at various points in his life. Vampire counts always want to, you know, expand the Empire, but I truly believe, having read enough on the subject, that had he not... No! I don't want to fight you! Damn. Okay. That had the Empire not been so fractious during the Vampire Count's ascension, he probably would have continued to be a Vampire Count. Yeah, Grom. Grom doesn't even live in this timeline. I am not sure why he's here. He should be long dead, and also his body should be in Ulthuan. Okay, I can't afford to give you any money right now. I think Talabacland is going to have to be the place where we throw our weight behind at the moment, because we really need some more help here. And I'm going to need to leave Middenheim to its own devices while I go deal with Grom the Paunch. Grom the Paunch is one of those great leaders that I mentioned as appearing every now and again in Imperial history. He unified the entirety of the orcs and goblins under his rule, and then took them all the way across the sea to Ulthuan to face down the High Elves themselves in that area. They're the ones who gave Altharion the Grim his Grim moniker when they killed his family, and he became Grim to avenge them. I'm not going to invest anything because I am not sure that I will have any land there to invest in. So this is actually the story of the Empire, though. You know, it's beset on all sides and within by threats, and it's a constant balancing act. It was never a time, especially at the end times, well, they're not saying never. There have been long periods of peace in the Empire where it would have been possible to kind of unify everything. But that's not the Imperial way. Every time things are good, prosperity goes up and corruption goes up with it, and then they end up having to fracture again rather than stay as a unified state. Ultimately, I think that was what Chaos was doing. We know from what lore we have available to us. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to throw in with Talabacland. Ain't no Talabackland. Ain't no Talabackland. Alright. Get out of my city. Whatever. Such a dummy. Get out of my city. You get in my city.
Huntsman General.
No. Okay, here's Kislev. So we've encountered Kislev. Kislev is, it's one of those nations that was a lot stronger in the past. They had a good claim to actually be the most powerful human nation in the time period of the Old World, so 250 years before before the end times. But they were absolutely crushed by the forces of Azavar Kull. Their greatest cities were destroyed, their towns and villages depopulated, and they simply did not recover by the time of the end times. They were a pushover, forced to facing down Archaon the Everchosen's hordes as a rear guard or guerrilla force in their own lands. Alright, Grom's over there. He's in a pretty weak place. Well, if this fails, it's gonna be a short live stream. Yeah, not gonna work. But in combination with them, maybe it will. Oh. There we go. No. Alright. We're gonna have to hope because, oh, you know what? That I could have done. Let's see if Grom will take the bait and attack both of us with a town. That's really the only way I see this working out. And then I'll be very glad that I did prop up Middenheim. I should have looked over there. Okay, it looks like Marienburg is still standing, so maybe they'll come to our aid. Damn it. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I knew that was happening. Okay, so we've defeated the largest army in the Greenskin Horde. It has devastated the Reikland, but we have succeeded, so kudos to us there. We live to fight another day. We do have to face down those two armies, and then repel the Greenskins, and then repel Chaos, and then repel the Undead. So we've got our work cut out for us. But that is what the Empire do. There we go. I love this. It's like printing money. And also printing fealty. Yeah, Grunberg, I know. So we are in essentially an end time scenario right now. This is about as bad as it gets for our heroes. Let's get you over here. You're gonna join your Emperor. Stop it. Alright, how much can I recruit? I can recruit 4 a time. So let's do that. So he is the Emperor. Him ordering his subjects to join the military is entirely realistic there. Actually, let's go up further, and then you We'll have the Emperor act as a backup for his additional general here, which, to be fair, this guy completely screwed the pooch. He was supposed to defend the Empire, the Reikland, while the Emperor was gone, and he did not. Much like our friend Kurt Helborg, though he went out with a bang during the end times, so I can't hate on him too much. Alright, so we've pushed them back. Our goal is going to be to recapture these. Marienburg, what is up with you? You're safe. It doesn't look like Kemmler is interacting with us much yet. So we're going to go after those guys. I do need to boost... Let's see. How's your army looking? Okay. I'm going to boost... Can I target him? I would love to give him a commendation, because he's super great. I can't. Okay. No commendations for him. I'll commend the Emperor instead. That was perfect. It gave me Deathclaw and a bunch of other stuff. We are rebuilding the Empire's forces. Good times all the way around. Let's see what we want to do. Nice.
I am Franz. They will obey. General.
Sorry guys, there's so many decisions for me to make. I'm not going to make any decisions on this guy. I don't really care what happens with him. He's going to need to do his own thing. Kind of as a rule, the way that I play these games is I tend to act like I am the named lord, and that everyone else is kind of acting in my stead. And with that, I'm able to... I try not to like micromanage their individual development, kind of imagining that they're in charge of doing their thing there.
Long may we both. The dragons. Welcome to fair Britannia.
Having wide-ranging diplomatic contents is exactly the kind of thing that Karl Franz did. He did open and maintain relations with the High Elves in Ulth through an embassy in Lothern. He had extremely tight bilateral relations with Bretonnia, which is not something that always happens. Bretonnians are viewed as a backwater and backwards people by the Empire, despite their obvious strength. Which makes sense. You think about it from the Empire's perspective, they view themselves as the forefront of technology and innovation, and the Bretonnians are still riding around on horses looking for women in lakes. So it makes sense, though it's definitely a kind of a prejudiced way to look at it. And, oh, okay then. As we can see here, we have some Gotrek and Felix. They deserve an entire... I was going to tackle them as a separate lore video, and they 100% deserve it. I actually haven't, because I can't do it justice yet. I have not read enough of their material. But rest assured, it will one day come, and we will have a story on Gotrek and Felix.
Leave no one behind.
Empire Captain, yeah, it's time. Let's go. We're going down the yelling timber. Alright, let's go. And our goal, as the Prince of Reikland. As the Prince of Reikland, the Karl Franz's first priority is always going to be towards the Reikland, and he does this pretty consistently. Yeah, the ones I've read from Gotrek and Felix are awesome. And not only that, but they're a great repository for ancillary kinds of subjects that are just not covered in the army books, which focus on, big movements of peoples and nations and things. And they function in the same way that roleplay does, because if you think about it, Gotrek and Felix are Dungeons and Dragons characters. They are fantasy roleplay characters, and even occasionally they're Vampire Masquerade characters. So they've got a lot going for them there.
The Empire.
All right, let's take back Uber's Reich.
Raise your weapons.
Huntsman General.
Why aren't you just a little bit faster? All right, that's done. Uber's Reich has been restored. Our economy is on much better footing. So if I capture Karaz Asgaraz, I could give it to Nuln. They need the help. You can see that the vampire counts are on their coast. But I'm going to have to trust that she can do this. I don't have the money to recapture that anyway. Alright, who needs the most help right this second? Middenheim's doing pretty good, but they're also facing the most pressure. Talabheim is doing okay, as long as they don't lose. Oh wow, goodness! It looks like Draika has taken a chunk out of our friends there. I'm gonna give Nuln one. I would. Talabheim gets an army. And you all will have no more corruption. Now, once fealty reaches 10, the game mechanic will have the elector count confederate with you. I am not doing that. Yeah, they really are. And the funny thing is, Draika, at least from my knowledge, didn't have any lore in the Empire. They gave her a forest, the Griffin Woods, over out in the far western part of the Empire, which is all thematic and everything. I certainly don't dislike it. But, yeah, it's weird. She is always messing things up. She's the most expansionist Wood Elf character by far, in my experience playing through. Every now and again, the computer gets it in it that it would really like Durthu to blow some stuff up, but as a rule, it pretty much seems to be just Draika. Okay. Uh-oh. Bro, you had one job. Marienburg, one job. One job. Alright, I need you to go take Eilhart by yourself, and then hopefully Kemlar will not declare war on us, because we are not in a place to fight Kemlar right now. It's ours now. And then the Emperor will go take Helmgart. And with that, we have fully restored our borders. Middenheim is a little bit stronger. Nuln seems to be doing okay. So the Empire's in not a great position, but it's in as good a position as it's likely to get for right now. The economy is still pretty rough. I'm going to have to go in through here and restore these lands to the Bretonnians, because again, I don't have any interest in conquering Bretonnia. I am trying to make the Empire strong. We need some more money. We need more allowance. Yodelehihu. And will you give us any money? You give us some money, yay. Nope. Ooh. No, I don't want that. I wouldn't be able to defend it anyway. It'll be conquered by Kemmler. Hopefully he will give us 3 or 4 turns before he comes after us, but I kind of doubt it. Kemmler is a weird one in the lore, because he does assemble armies, most notably to attack the Maisontal Abbey in Bretonnia at that famous battle. And then during the end times, he assembled another one for a second battle at Maisontal Abbey to recover the lost artifacts of Nagash before he was arisen. But he generally is kind of just on his own, wandering around in the woods. Hey, bro. I do imagine that is how Leon the Younger and Karl Franz greeted each other. But it's tough to say because the King of Bretonnia is like 80-something. So he would really be more of a grandfather or even a great-grandfather age to Karl Franz. They sometimes miss in these stories with immortal creatures that humans still have incredibly short lives by comparison. Which I always find interesting to juxtapose how they interact with beings like elves who are immortal. So I did conquer Montfort. I will be giving it to the Duke of Beston shortly, as well as this territory here. This guy needs to raise some more troops. Oh, whoa. It does, right? Or maybe he's born with it. You know, we don't even know.
My lady informs me that
Shoring up my... hopefully I don't regret this. I don't think I could. They've got like 1 territory left, so get some money out of them before they get crushed. Karazha-Karak is actually the oldest ally of the Empire. The Karazhan Corps and humanity have been allies since the time of Sigmar, when Sigmar famously rescued the King of Karazha-Karak from an orcish imprisonment, which he'd got himself into. And ever since then, humanity and the dwarves have been pretty much thick as thieves. There's even been large periods of human history where the dwarves watched over the Empire in a way, because in their mind, fracturing and civil war is just not something they do. Dwarves certainly can fight each other, no doubt. In the grim darkness of the Warhammer Fantasy universe, there is only war, after all. But the dwarves themselves do not understand concepts like kinslaying. When they go to war with each other, it's to accomplish a specific grudge and does not indicate general factiousness on the part of their society. Yes, yeah, that's one of the keystones in the Warhammer universe is that tight dwarf-human relationship. So it is fun when they can work in why they might fight. So like, dwarves can still in dwarf books of grudges, they have to make sure, what are you doing here, Be'lakor? They have to make sure that they understand that they're grudging against a particular human lord, despite how it logically appears to them. All right, I will be giving this to Baston, but that doesn't mean I have to give it in good condition. So I'm going to get some more money out of it first. And you take it. Take that land. I don't want it. Yeah, I don't want it. Take it from me. I don't want an alliance with you. Do want money, though. All right, cool. So I have divested myself of this rat-infested Bretonnian land. Let's build up the Reikland a bit. We're getting back on our feet. Our imperial authority is pretty low, which means the Empire is not doing great. Let's take a look at our map. Oh, well, great. The Tsarina is an ally to the Empire. I like her a lot more than I like Sylvania. This is the longest I've seen Averheim survive with having 2 provinces, so kudos to them. Talabheim is strong. We're actually doing pretty good. I'm liking this. We need to kick out these non-imperial elector counts. But as a rule, we're actually doing pretty good.
Huntsman General.
The nation calls.
I really don't care about any of your things there, so we're just gonna do this. And we'll let you decide your own fate from now on.
Bring me to my men.
So in our story, the Emperor is now finding himself with a choice. I can continue to prop Bretonnia, which I think is probably the wisest course of action. The Empire seems to be kind of controlling its border for the moment. And we've just been informed that Be'lakor, the first Demon Prince, has invaded Bretonnia from his sequestering in Albion. Albion is a fascinating piece of Warhammer history. No. You just want me to fight all your wars for you. Albion's a fascinating portion of Warhammer history because in the terms of the game, Albion was one of the first instances of a worldwide campaign. It was the first time that Games Workshop took to the internet and was like, you know what, we could use the internets to... Where's the Emperor?
By the comet.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fine. We're gonna do it. We need to knock Kemlar out. We need to give this land back to the Bretonnians. We need to create a stronger border on our edge. Done. Loot and occupy. Alright. Best done. I'm getting a little tired of giving you stuff, but here you go. I'm not even going to take any land for it. Yeah, if I take that, you're not going to be able to spend it. Okay, there you go. Take it. Take it, take it. I'll hit you back later.
To untamed lands. Hunters.
How's our reconstruction going? Badly, it looks like.
Huntsman General.
Yeah, Emperor. Alright, I'm all done controlling you. I really need some more money. No, I just gave you a city. Go away. Okay. So in our quest to prop up our neighbors, we have taken out the capital of Heinrich Kemmler's lands, and our army is still strong there. We have returned another city to Bastan. It looks like Karun, the province of Leon Leoncoeur, is still up there doing his thing, so that's good. But Grom the Paunch is now going to go after the Reikland again, and we saw how well he did last time he was there, so... Would really like for him to just turn around and go home. That would be best. Grom the Paunch being unkillable is one of those characters where it actually makes sense that we can't kill him in the game. After consuming some troll at some point in the past, he became virtually unkillable, his body just regenerating over and over as it took on some of the properties of that creature.
I am Prince and Emperor.
I want this. Blackstone Post. I'm giving you this town with the intention that you not lose it.
I accept.
Cool. Alright, so now I have a puppet state with right on my border with a little bit of breathing room. It looks like Be'lakor's leaving. Who's he at war with that he's leaving? He's not at war with me. And he's kind of weak to attack me personally. Honestly, it might not be a bad idea. Depending on how next turn goes, maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea for me to go after him.
The great outdoors. Huntsman General.
I have to sacrifice Eilhart. I can't afford to replace this guy.
Get a move on. Garrison duties.
Uh-oh. What?
Where next?
Why is this guy here? We're not at war with you. Those are particularly weak armies also.
Huntsman General.
The lady grants you safe passage.
That's exactly what I needed. Okay.
There is this
No, I don't want to be friends with you.
Bow before the
welcome, my
armored.
Alright, so Bretonnia might not be a completely lost cause. Which is good. Grunberg. I'm gonna lose Eilhart, which is disappointing, but it is what it is. So this is the struggle, as Karl Franz. As someone pointed out at the beginning, tactically, it would make more sense for me to conquer Marienburg at the beginning. It would have prevented it from being conquered by Kemmler, or at least if it was, I would have gotten a couple of turns of strong trading bonuses out of it. And it probably would have made sense for me to just kind of migrate to the south, conquering Bretonnia as I go, but that really would be out of character. The Emperor, as indefensible as Altor's position might become, would not abandon it, and in fact Karl Franz never did, even though it appeared that he had abandoned Altdorf in the end times. It actually wasn't, it was Sigmar. And Sigmar, from his very beginning, had this impression of creating, of all of the Empire, all of humanity in fact, not just the people in his empire, but all of humanity being his people. Which is a revolutionary idea at the time. No. You know what? No.
and I will fight with you.
I just replenished that. There is no way I'm letting you in there.
That is my right by Sigmar's crown.
Okay, well, at least we get some benefits for killing Bellicor, because now I'm at war with another group, which is, again, on point for him. That's what he do. Let's get some of those guys, and some... Ooh, okay. Alright.
I trust no man. Looking ahead.
Okay, okay. So little by little, my characters are definitely getting stronger, but they are running into some problems. Okay. So let's... Ooh, Talabheim has basically collapsed. Who are you at war with, Talabheim? Alright, let's give you an army. What's that? Oh, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I wish one of these gave me healing. Like, if conscription could be used also to heal all of your armies, that would be really useful.
Summon the Elector Counts.
Alright. Got 45 minutes left. Let's see what we can do. So I've knocked out Be'lakor. Grom the Paunch is in the Empire. If he hits Altdorf right now, well, in 2 turns, when he'll arrive there, assuming he beelines it, I think they can hold out. Interesting. Well, that just goes to show you, actually, that was a valiant defeat, which meant it had a pretty good chance if I'd gone in and actually done that fight, that it would have succeeded. Because those border fortresses are just very defensible, and that was a damaged border fortress. I'm imagining it had some broken walls, because I had not paid to, What? Karaza Karak has fallen? No! But it is the everlasting realm. Well, I'm giving this up as soon as I leave it, so I don't really care that much. Let's go here. Done. Now this one I actually probably am going to keep, even though this is Bretonnian. Nope, nothing to give you.
Bow before the rightful lords of the realm, and I'll hear your demands.
Yes.
I don't know how Leon Kur is going to feel about me giving provinces to his dukes instead of to him. But to be fair, I did look. I tried to give him Gisero, and it just didn't work. Alright, so I don't know where Kemmler is, which is nerve-wracking for me. Maybe we're going to luck out and Grom the Paunch is going to go south. Who knows? It's a mystery. Yeah, I'm going to be capturing what's its face next turn. Could I give you Fort Burgabus? I could not. Okay. I'm not going to do that. Grom the Paunch could come right back and hit that.
I command here.
Yeah, you do. You command here. Now, if we can get this to do what we want it to do, from a lore perspective, we should conquer Marienburg, restore it to the Count of Nordland, swing back and knock out Grom the Paunch. I'm essentially going to be just swinging back and forth along the Grey Mountains at this point, because I don't have a way of... I don't have any bandwidth to go out and fight other parts of the Empire right now, which means they've got to keep their stuff together. I will continue to send them aid. Let's see, what do we have here? Nice. Oh, good. Skaven have been obliterated. I do not think I can win this fight. I don't think so. I'll heal that back up.
Yes. All right.
Yeah, it looks like the vampire counts. Ooh, they took Talabheim. F that.
Huntsman General.
Talabheim is the city, as we said, is the city of Tal, the god of growth and life and hunting and things like that. Having his city conquered is really not the best. It's pretty bad. We're gonna have to hope that these guys crash on the walls of Bergbrus because we don't have anything else to do there. Where did Grom the Paunch go? Ah, he did go into... What are you? Oh, you're gonna break that open real easy. Oh well. Get some more money in here. Right? Skaven are done. At this point in history, the Empire's population largely believes the Skaven are a myth. And this is because the Skaven had essentially disappeared from the storyline for almost 1,000 years. There was a long plague period. Haha, heroic victory. Let's see how much am I killing here. Oh lord. Yeah, I tell you, these fortresses, they're tough cookies. 233 kills for Karl Franz. That's almost more than all of his soldiers. Yeah, that's about it. That's about good times for him. Alright, let's replenish our troops. We could not have asked for a better result there, so I'm not going to be too greedy about it. Hopefully I'll be able to still get my soldiers up enough. Oh, good. Luen Lionco. Alright, the Nemesis Crown has been found. The Nemesis Crown, for those of you who are not aware... No. For those of you who are not aware, you're about to get Nordland back. I don't even want to hear it from you guys. The Nemesis Crown, for those of you who are not aware, is an artifact created by Alaric the Mad, the same Alaric the Mad of the Runefang's fame. So he created all of the famous Runefang swords that the Elector Counts wield. And he created this crown, which is actually why he has the moniker of the Mad. And it combines two dwarven runes and powers them, two dwarven master runes, and binds them with warpstone, which, as we know, nothing ever good comes from warpstone. So it's, and what had happened was he had been hoping to create a rune which would ultimately combine the wisdom of the bearer with all of their race's wisdom, so essentially creating a perfect tool for a ruler. But instead, what it did was it brought out all of the malice of that race. So as soon as you put it on, if a dwarf were to put it on, he would feel all of the malice and hatred that his race had accumulated across its entire history. Okay, good. You're not at war with them. If a goblin does, same deal. And a human does. You get the idea. It's not great. So it ended up being that this weapon, this tool he created, this crown, was a far worse thing than it could have ever possibly been a positive. And he tried to destroy it, but it was indestructible. He outdid himself on that indestructibilityness, which was not great for the rest of the world. Alaric the Mad would go mad and stumble off into the world, never to be seen again, and he left the world with his creation, which is the Nemesis Crown. This was found later in the 2520s after how they're doing this in the canon now. After the Storm of Chaos, which was Archaon's first attempt to enact the end times, and he arrived in Middenheim and devastated everything there. In the aftermath of that battle, the Nemesis Crown was located in the mountain, in the hills here, around Karaberg in Middenland. And every race in the Warhammer world raced to get it, because it's a crown that has the ability to drastically improve the power of not just an individual, but their entire race. Yes, that is a lot of hatred. Thank you, Maury. So everyone raced to get it. It was a follow-up campaign for... It was a worldwide campaign, just like Albion was, and just like Storm of Chaos was. It was a global campaign run through an internet site that Games Workshop powered, and it didn't have the same story impact, partly because, after Albion and after Storm of Chaos, the community was starting to feel that the storyline was never moving forward, and they were right. Books were published, they didn't have any reference to these events, or if they did, they didn't quite make sense. Alright, you're paying me enough, that's fine. So it wasn't quite as effective. It did have some really cool implications. I liked it a lot. I liked playing with my friends. They didn't release any new models for it, which I think was a problem. I think they should have. That would have definitely driven interest. But more importantly, they needed to include stakes. Like when Albion happened, new items, new models, and new armies were all added into the lore. And also some cool stuff happened in the lore as well. This whole area of Albion. Okay. Let's give you some troops first. Don't make me regret this. Alright, Reichsmarschall. Let's see if you can do what you're supposed to do. I would imagine Grom could drag his butt down here. Grom is in a weak position right now. He has lost his second army, because when orcs and goblins will accumulate additional armies or additional hordes for being really good in combat. Grom the Paunch lost a battle over here, I guess. I'm not sure how, but he did. And he lost his second army. His army is down to 80%. So if he attacks here, with this guy augmented by another hero, and the Empire's pride and joy, the Marienburg landship, I think he's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. Hopefully. Income from buildings. Yeah, I can't afford that right now. Building outposts is definitely something I will do, because I want to prop up these guys. But honestly, looking at the map, it looks like the Dukedom of Quran is taking care of business most places. Nordland is back in charge, up in the top of the map. Baston is a strong barrier. It looks like Grom the Paunch is reduced to just Axbite Pass. Really? I'm gonna have to fight this one. And hopefully. I have seen that one. I don't have any mods because I had a bad experience with mods crashing my system. Probably because I wasn't smart about which ones I downloaded. But I've seen that one. Someone highlighted it on the YouTube, and it was really fun. I liked it. I really like when they provide the additional context, because it's still a whole world, and the army books are just one section of the lore, or one source of the lore. There's actually dozens of novel-sized books. There are, I think, dozens now of Warhammer roleplay manuals, And those manuals, they're not just how to play Warhammer roleplay. They provide pages and pages and pages, hundreds of pages of background material. And sometimes it's just little things like, locations in a city that are important. And sometimes it's major things like the entire pantheon of various races. And the monster bestiary was a particularly fun one as well. But the thing is that all of these sources form the background and the canon and the lore, and no one's going to be able to get it all themselves. They are. There was a deal that Crucible 7 had, and it was like 90% off or something crazy like that. So I bought all of their back catalog. I'm still working my way through it. The newest one I bought was the Dwarf Player's Guide. All right, bud, you're gonna go here. And you're gonna go here. Brrr. You guys are all skirmishers. You better leave. Better go, better go. Better go. Why are you not leaving? Okay, good. You are leaving. Good, good, good. Run away! You bravely ran away. You bravely ran away, away. The city maps are very cool, and they provide a lot of like context. You can also use them for siege battles, which are fun. I had a gaming group I was part of that did that. Okay, good. I thought they got caught by trolls. Like, bro, seriously. They used the maps from roleplay to inform where the city places would be, and that was very fun. I liked that a lot. Right, get off of my battlefield. Over here. We can knock out these trolls, that would be helpful. That's the one thing about these long maps. For the attacker, your whole army is basically tired by the time everything's said and done. With orcs and goblins, knocking out the general is a very valid strategy. Where are you guys going? Oh, shite. That's not where you were supposed to go. You were all supposed to go after this guy. Is he gonna push him off of the map? That's hilarious. Problem is we're now facing the wrong direction, so... I hate facing the actual battles. Yeah. They did a really good job with Grom's model. He looks so much like his actual model there. Yeah. That tactically I could have done better, but honestly, I only have a little bit of time left in this stream, and I hate fighting these battles, so I hate wasting time in that. If you all enjoy that, that's fine, of course. But for me, I absolutely can't stand watching people play video games. So the strategy part's a little bit different because I do like the overall map campaigning part, but the microcosm of each individual soldier's actions is just a lot of clicking to me. But unfortunately, Grom the Paunch should not be brought down by some rando, and that is ultimately what this guy did. And to be entirely frank, he failed me on every level. His job was to keep Grom out of the Empire, out of the Reikland, and he failed to do that. So I'm not feeling too bad about it. He can be goblin food. And just in case we're not aware, goblins do eat human. If you ever read the Skarsnik book from Black Library, they give a particularly brutal account of a goblin raid on a village in the Badlands, which does lay out exactly what goblins do to people when they capture them, and why it's so important that we not get captured by goblins. Grom did not take that town. Fascinating. Too weak. He is in a pretty bad way. And he's going to get killed by Karl Franz, so... I mean, that's not the worst thing. I definitely can use that additional experience. And the money as well. To be fair, that's a much more fitting end for someone as important to the lore as Grom the Paunch is. Cool. We did it. How are you doing over here, Uberstrike? And you got your tavern. This is great. Actually, we were just talking about Warhammer roleplay. This tavern here, the Red Moon Inn, is the kind of quintessential inn, pub, tavern-y place for a band of heroes to start off their adventures. Okay, so the Emperor is back in the Reikland. I have restored Marienburg, propped up Bretonnia. The Wood Elves are here. The Wood Elves are fine. We'll make friends with them. It looks like the vampire counts have been pushed back slightly. And Middenheim still stands. So we're actually doing pretty good right now from a I'm the Emperor perspective. Let's build a little bit. Because a lot of this wouldn't have happened if the Empire had been in a better place, to be entirely frank. I don't need that. I do need that. And I also need... Why did you... Supposed to be in Reikdorf.
Ready.
I do need some better troops, so let me see what I can consolidate and then upgrade. Nothing, because he's still there, but that's fine. That's all good. Everything's gonna be alright.
Master engineer. Never complacent.
Well, we do have the money for this now. Let's do Blackstone. Who needs an army? You need an army. And you need an army. You need an army. You don't have one. I also want more peeps. I think that's it. I think I am good there. Okay. How we doing? How we doing, guys? Theodric Gausser is back. Yeah. Middenland's back. It looks like we have Vlad, Draika, and Zarina to get rid of. But you know what? They're all facing the same direction. So strategically, if we're looking at this, our biggest dangers are here now. Or sorry, here now, rather than all around. And also not within. So we're doing a great job as far as the Emperor clearing out the Empire and restoring it. I do have to get Blackfire Pass back, but... No, not Blackfire Pass. Axebite Pass. Shouldn't have backed out so hard there so that I could have talked about the map a little bit while I was closer. That big river towards the middle of the map, that is the River Reik. It goes down, that tributary is the River Aver, which goes through Averland. But the River Reik is the primary source of trading wealth. This river is wide enough that it's like the Mississippi, the Nile, or the Amazon. Big barges can float down it perfectly easily. So it becomes a navigable water source, which is something they added from in Warhammer 3 that wasn't in Warhammer 2, I believe. We have some military access. Military access is kind of one that I just kind of throw out. Oh no, Skavens! I thought we got rid of you. Luckily, I am flush with cash right this second, so we are going to burn this Skaven city to the ground. Damn, that's an expensive one. Oof. Okay. Alright, let's take care of Grom here.
I am Prince and Emperor.
Yeah. Nope, none of that.
It is my right to my Sigmar's crown.
I don't want the Bretonnians taking this, and I don't want them focusing on it either. They really need to go south and kill and take care of the middle mountain of their the Massif Orcal, which is a play on the Massif Central of real life France, and it's the source of all of their problems.
My inventions would make quick work of you.
You're too weak to attack that town. Okay, cool.
Your foolishness
I declare the Empire is, for the moment, secure. I'm gonna say that, and then I'm gonna get attacked by something, I'm sure. Light. Sure. The Conclave of Light is an actual gathering that occurs in Karl Franz's reign. He puts it together under his auspices of the greatest statesman. So we're going to hold off till next turn. And he essentially gets everybody together, and that's on the side of order. This is really the first time in the lore, from a gaming perspective, that we hear the term order as a kind of faction moniker. Before this, it really wasn't. It was just, individual factions. But Karl Franz saw that the power of chaos was growing, and he really pushed for that, for the forces of good, as it were, to unify.
Imperial Scholar.
That's fascinating. Where did I lose Outriders? Okay. Alright, 15 minutes to go. Let's see if I can make any headway. I did not make as much headway as I thought. I thought 2 hours would be enough time to secure the Empire's borders. It was not. It was not at all. So where we'll go from here, I'm going to leave Bretonnia to its own devices. I've done enough for them. I don't really need to worry about control because I really only have these three provinces. I have Fort Bergbrus over there. But yeah, not a lot going on there. So let's go ahead and secure the north.
Step to it.
We're going to rest in Eilhart for a second and recruit some more Reichsguard. And over here, we are going to keep building our soldiery up.
Grand inventor.
Focus a little bit on our economy because we need that to get better. I really want to give him his... so when a master engineer gets to be tough enough now, they get to ride a steam tank. So I really want to get him up to there.
Ever upwards, eh?
Alright, so now we've assembled a Conclave of Light. No, we are not going to be friends with them. We have to kill them fairly soon.
Indeed.
Mittenheim is doing okay. They're pretty weak, but I've seen weaker. The Ice Court, I may not kick her out of the Empire. As it stands, Ostermark is already kind of Kislevite in its outlook. They're very close to them, and they've always been a bit of a wild group out there. So I don't think I'm gonna kick Kislev out. If they lose it, I'll certainly recover it. The land, I mean, and put it back to the Elector Count of Ostermark before I confederate it. But I really think that I don't need to worry about her that much. I do need to worry about Bretonnia doing its job. They look like they're in a good place, but they do have, up here in this corner of the map here, they've got Bellicor, and as we saw, they have not yet wiped out the orcs. But they're going to have to do their thing, and I need to not worry about them for a little bit. 30. It's funny how much slower okay. I think I'm going to be okay, because I'm about to give Nordland like 3 or 4 cities. So I think they're good. Wait, 2 turns? I didn't want to... Or, you know what? No, can't do that. Damn you. Damn you all to hell.
Pioneer of progress.
Pioneer of progress.
Invention is my gift.
Your mom is a gift. No. Midland? Yeah, we can be out. Oh.
Only Sigma's god.
Yeah, we can be allies, Midland. I'm probably gonna regret that. Do I want to do that? That actually might not be a bad idea. And do I want to give Fort Bergbrus to these guys? I don't, because honestly, I don't trust them on my border. So I will build an outpost in Middenheim. Now, outposts don't just help you. They also, like by giving you allied recruitment, they also provide a garrison bonus for that area. So if I want to, in a practical way, help Middenheim stay alive, I need to build some armies for them. Now we're about to see an explosion of imperial authority as soon as I enter the wasteland and start recovering those lands for the Nordland counts. But in the event that doesn't happen, or the event that I get no. Oh, he's all the way down there. Orion's a bit of a mixed bag, because he's almost cornate in his viciousness and his lust for battle. It's not quite the same. Why? We are all beset. Why would you want to fight each other? This is what we're talking about with humans. The Empire is nothing if not persistent at fighting itself.
Bring me to my men.
All right.
Sigma compels us on. My orders are to move. They need flesh to craft.
Yeah, I'm going to knock out all of those towns and return them to Nordland. And apparently Nuln feels like it's the right time. I guess Nuln's actually in a pretty good position, so I guess they feel like it's a good time to go to war with somebody. I guess. Whatever, bro. You do you. I don't need this anymore. We're growing fast enough. Right? Very Canon Empire behavior. Like, we have to fight Greenskins. I just took care of the Greenskin threat for them. And we have to fight the undead. Even though Sylvania is kind of contained, we've seen in the Vampire Wars that Sylvania can be reduced down to a single banner or a single city, and then just blow up and take over half the empire. So, but humans don't learn, and that's actually kind of a true statement, not just a empire culture statement. They are very much not about learning from history, and very much about fighting each other if they think there's an advantage. I imagine that Nuln feels like now would be a good time to expand the influence of the college, of the gunnery school, or maybe they're following the directions of the arch magic tricks and expanding the influence of her College of Magic. I don't know. What I do know is that this land now belongs to the Emperor of the Elector Count of Nordland, who is not at war with Kemlar. I did not get enough there. Imperial Scholar. Alright.
Bringing plans to fruition.
Alright, let's see if Kemmler attacks Karl Franz. If he's smart, he would. His armies are pretty weak over there, mostly zombies. Kemmler is, as I was talking about him earlier, Kemmler is a hermit who travels the Grey Mountains, half insane, alongside his eternal companion, Krell, the former champion of Khorne, who is now an undead servant of Nagash, of Krell, but only with his loaning out by Nagash. He's too strong of a personality to be to be ruled over by someone like Krell, but they do seem to have effected a fairly effective partnership between the two of them, which is nice to see. It's good to have friends, right? Especially when you're going on a road trip like them. It's fine. Yes, I want my money back. Okay. So we have saved Nuln again.
And war calls.
And we have crushed the forces of Heinrich Kemmler. And my computer is just the slowest.
I am Prince and Emperor.
Do we want to do it again? No, that's not necessary.
I am Franz.
But we are going to get into
Pick up the
that mode, because I'm going to go take Amanu back and give it, of course, to the Elector Count, because that's what I do. Oh, snap! I got Theodore Bruckner? Yeah, I did.
Theodore Bruckner.
Yeah, I heard. Alright, Theodore Bruckner's a boss. I am going to take him with me, and this guy's going to go over here.
Soon I'll be all-powerful.
Okay, well, you do you. Theodore Bruckner was a character introduced in in Tamarkan's campaign book, which was one of the last expansions of the canon that Games Workshop did in the fantasy setting. Everything else since then has been pretty much Cubicle 7. And he was a captain and bodyguard to the Nuln to the Nuln Elector Count, the Weissenland Elector Count. And he actually was the one who scored the final hit against Tamarkan, the champion of chaos, and knocked him out of the setting. Had he not done that, had he failed, we may not have had an end times at all. At least not in the way that Chaos envisioned it, because they would not have had Archaon. They would have had Tamarkan as their chief, person. So I guess it's a mixed bag, whether we are excited about that loss or not. All right. What is your strength? He is not strong enough to take that castle. I might regret it later, but I'm going to hold off investing in those border fortresses. Isn't that always the story there? I'm going to avoid investing in my border defenses so that I can invest in economic and development in the main provinces. That's very human and also very imperial. Yeah, Bruckner is super strong, and I'm building... So Karl Franz, in the lore, leads, obviously, any army he wants to, but he traditionally leads the Reiksguard. The Reiksguard are the knightly order of Sigmar's temple, and also the knightly order of the Reikland. They form the personal bodyguard of the Emperor. It's kind of implied that they form the personal bodyguard of the Emperor all the time, even if the Emperor is not a Reiklander, but I don't have any knowledge to back that up. We've only had a Reikland Emperor in the setting for so long that we've talked about his bodyguard. But they do have a headquarters in Altdorf, a chapter temple, and they have featured in the setting in both books and in whoa, what the hell are you doing up here? I will. Knock this city out. This is the kind of thing that the undead do in the setting all the time. They get beaten back, and then they fall back into a position where they can effectively, like, heal themselves. And then they do that. They just kind of... Yeah, and we're going to get rid of... I don't think we need to actually get rid of the... Yeah, we're not even suffering from attrition anymore. They'll fall back to a position where there's a great battle in the past and just raise up undead all day long. Even if all of these armies attacked me at once, I would still be in a position of authority. But we'll go into ambush mode just in case. Actually, could I hit you? No, I can't. Okay. Ambush for me. It looks like in this game, the Vampire Counts and Kemmler did not unify. Kemmler is a natural ally to the Vampire Counts. As a necromancer, he sees the vampires as a superior form of life, or unlife, as it were. So he would have been, that would have been appropriate for him to be there. But in any case, and also the computer does often unify them, whether it's taking lore into consideration or not. No, I'm going to need that money next turn. Theodore Bruckner, yay! I have a feeling Be'lakor could be showing up on Marienburg's borders. As I said, in the lore and as in this game, the Reich River is navigable with river barges, and raiders can show up all the way up the river to attack you. And that does mean that Be'lakor, based out of Albion, is a legitimate concern for Marienburg. Though he has a special teleport mechanism, which lets him go to other places as well. So I'm not sure if that matters as much. I know we're going a little bit over the 2 hours that I said we'd be doing, but I really want to see if I can at least restore the northern borders first. I'm very disappointed in Nuln. As I can see here, Elspeth von Draken is just completely wrecking Middenheim. I may have to wait for her to destroy Middenheim and then restore them again. So, thanks for that. Okay. You do command here. That is how you roll.
I am Prince and Emperor.
It can be next turn. It will be next turn. Okay. We're going to take out the Black Pit. The Black Pit is a former dwarven mine that has been converted by the orcs and goblins into a orc and goblin, homestead. I want to enjoy some orc and goblin rest and relaxation. They can come to the Black Pit. It's in the same general area as Lorelorn Forest, and also Kazrak the One-Eyed lives out here as well. Oh, here we go. The Grimmenhagen Ravine, the home of the Beastmen in that area. And between the three of them, they kind of form a non-imperial bucket here that the Counts of Middenheim and Nordland have never really been able to tame. Lorelorn Forest, as we mentioned, is not an enemy. They're actually relics of the High Elven colonies that used to dot the Old World before the War of the Beard. Back about 4,500 years before the current setting. And so they're not like the Asrai or the Wood Elves of... why am I blanking? Of Athel Loren, which is the big forest that borders Bretonnia and the Empire. Sure. They're going to do it anyway. So they're not like the Atheleran. They're not, part of the forest, as it were. They are allied with the forest in that area. The forest is alive, much as it is everywhere else, and they find common cause. But they're very much cosmopolitan elves, in the same manner that they were 45 centuries ago. So not, not completely in with the trees, but they're also not. Are you strong enough to withstand that? You better, because I'm not coming back.
We must attack.
But at the same time, they are aloof from the rest of the world. They actually completely decimated so they, at the end of the war, they were founded when they decimated the returning armies of the King of Carrick, Eight Peaks, and kicked him out through an alliance of the elves who lived there, the colonial elves, the Grey Lords, who were elves who were practicing dark magic, essentially banned magics, who were exiled after the Sundering, and then also the Tree Spirits, who were all done with the dwarves killing them. It wasn't cool. They were like, no, we don't like this.
I see no other option.
Okay, so we have restored the Black Pit and taken out the largest collection of orcs and goblins up here. And then after this, I'm going to let the computer just do what Karl Franz is going to do.
Imperial Scholar.
Alright, Norden. Talabheim. The line with the undead is still holding, but Talabheim is still in the possession of the undead. I will grant an army to Talabheim, for which they can... Oh. Actually, you know what? We can get Flensburg. All right, let's see how we're doing here. Bretonia is going strong. I'm glad that we made that investment. The Emperor's faith in his Bretonny cousins is being returned, and the Empire is advancing. We are advancing on all fronts, it looks like, which obviously, in the setting, this would be represented by the Emperor sending out missives and messengers and telling folks, go do this thing that I want you to do. But in my terms, I'm just pretending like the elector counts are doing what I want them to do. They are doing what I want them to do. They don't know it because they're an NPC and I'm not.
I command here. Attack!
Yup. That's what happens when you try to prey on my subjects. Okay, so this army is still a full one. They could take Gorsel, but I'll just give it back to them. And I'll have to take Wrecker's Point.
Grand inventor.
I really don't need to invest in those fortresses right now. And let's...
So many ideas. Work to do. Invention is my gift. For the Empire. Rearm and reload.
Okay, so the Emperor's campaigning in the north. He is restoring imperial authority in those areas. Karl Franz would spend most of his time doing exactly that, shoring up the empire, building the Conclave of Light. Essentially, his strategy was, much like, say, Winston Churchill in World War II, to build a coalition of a bulwark against what he sees as evil. In his case, in Karl Franz's case, it's very easy to see this. Obviously, these are evil orcs and goblins, and destructive orcs and goblins, evil forces of the undead, and chaos. Unfortunately for Karl Franz, and I'll just wrap this up because we're over time now. Unfortunately for Karl Franz, though, he is ultimately unsuccessful in his goal to save the empire. He would meet his end in the city of Altdorf. He would be killed, and then he would immediately be resurrected, as it would appear. But he wasn't actually resurrected. What happened was Sigmar was freed from a prison he was put in by Tzeentch 2 millennia earlier, 2,500 years earlier. And in his return to the mortal realm, he needed a vessel that was strong enough to sustain him. That vessel was the Emperor Karl Franz. So he did actually end up taking his body, and then, in the guise of Karl Franz, leading the empire to what ultimately was a defeat at the final Battle of Middenheim. The End Times is an endless stream of military defeats for the forces of good. There aren't a lot of times when the empire when not just the empire, but good in general, is on point. Which was a little frustrating, because it was, obviously these were the characters that we were following for decades in some people's cases. But it did end. Karl Franz did end up dying at Altdorf, the fall of the greatest city of the empire, and then Sigmar inhabited his body. So there is a way to look at it that he was successful. Ultimately, Karl Franz was able to create a situation where the faith of the empire led to Sigmar's true apotheosis. The hell? What did I tell you about neglecting your border defenses? Okay. The empire was ultimately unable to resist the pull of chaos, but in the end, the situation that was created and the apotheosis of Sigmar led to the reflowering of good, as it were, in the mortal realms, because Sigmar essentially was able to build that realm with his bare hands. In some cases, it coalesced around him. So I would be hard pressed to say that it was a complete failure, because it was eventually successful. But in the terms of the saving the millions of lives that he was entrusted to protect as the emperor, he did ultimately fail. And given who his personality was, I think he would have taken that even more personally, as I think he would have considered himself in many ways to be a guardian of all the lives that were in the world, that fell under the auspices of his Conclave of Light. And in that way, he would have considered himself having failed all of those people. So, with that, I will leave you. I hope you enjoyed this time we spent together today and learned a little bit about Karl Franz and the empire he rules over. I think I'm actually going to be in Boston for the next week on vacation, so I won't be doing any long form messages like this, but I will hopefully put out some shorts at least. And regardless, I look forward to talking to you all in the future. Please click like and share my videos and subscribe so that I can grow my viewer count and, keep making these videos. Not that I don't make any money off them.